What are some of the challenges that students might face while pursuing a career in esports business?
Some of the challenges that you might experience from the outside, from parents, from administrators, from government, whatever. I shouldn't say kids, students, right? Because you're right, a lot of the students that we have in our program aren't actually, just fresh out of high school. I do have a good number of mature students in my program as well. Some of those students, I think, also come in with a different perspective on what their relationship with esports is. And, some of them do come in thinking, oh, I'm going to be a pro gamer. And so this is the class that I have to take in college to do that. They're really into games, but they don't really know what they want to do with their life. And so there's a lot of learning as far as kind of starting to think about themselves as, contributing members of society in a professional capacity, right? And
there's a lot of challenges that I personally face based on like time management and where I kind of put my energy daily. For example, like where I kind of sit within notice, like I schedule management meetings, and I schedule management meetings. Our performance coaches, I personally even coach mental health and meditation and mindfulness to our competitors and the academy program.
Hello and welcome, listeners, to the Lotus 8 podcast, Mind, Body, and Gaming. We're bringing you yet another episode, and this time we're going to be talking about the business side of esports and tying that into mental health. With me today, I have the Lotus 8 CEO, Mao, and I also have a very special guest from Bow Valley College, Shadi. With the start of this podcast, Mao, would you like to introduce yourself? Give us a little bit of information about you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for letting me speak here. But hi, everybody. My name is Coach Steven, also known as Coach Mao. I'm with Lotus 8 Esports. I am currently our CEO, also our certified mental health coach, and also a certified meditation and mindfulness teacher for esports. And I'm also one of the creators of one of our unique programs called PMM. That stands for Performance Mindset Mindfulness, that helps esports athletes build healthy gaming habits through performance and overall everyday life by incorporating performance meditation, fitness and mobility stretching, mental health performance workshops, and meditation and mindfulness training.
All right, and Shadi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Shadi Hanna, and I'm the instructor of esports business management at Bow Valley College. What we call our SME, or subject matter expert at the college. So I help design a lot of the curriculum, guide new instructors in the program, and how we deliver our curriculum, and really tap into the industry to kind of get a sense of what employers are looking for, what skills and attributes they're looking for out of future candidates, so that we can best prepare our graduates for future employment in esports. When I'm not working at the college, I also volunteer as the chair and founder of Alberta's Scholastic Esports League, which is a provincial K-12 competition series for junior high and high schools across the province to compete in a series of video game tournaments and events. So I'm pretty tapped into esports, and very much so on the kind of school-based side of competition.
All right, thank you both for that introduction. So let's get into the topics here. So, Shadi, can you discuss the growth of the esports industry and how it led to Bow Valley's esports business program?
It's been a pretty explosive growth over the last few years. I think back to when I was, a kid. I was in elementary school, and video games were still very much at that. This was like the heart of MLG before Twitch, right? Like where
Yeah.
there had been some kind of engagement with traditional media, with esports as as something more than just a hobby, but it wasn't really something parents were thinking about. It wasn't really something people were thinking about as a legitimate career. It was something you did for fun while you waited to get a real job, right? That was gaming and esports. Ever since, the 2011 with Twitch and kind of the rise of live streaming and broadcasting and content, esports as a form of entertainment has just exploded globally, not just in Canada or the United States, but across the world, in major hotspots in Europe and Asia, and even in Africa and South Africa, especially. It's really taken the world by storm. And so it's something that we're seeing a lot more attention given to from traditional media and sports and entertainment outlets here in North America. Our program at Bow Valley was actually an initiative that was a collaborative initiative between the college and Calgary Economic Development. And so the city of Calgary is really trying to push for more STEM and innovation and, entertainment industries, new and innovative industries, and bring them to Calgary and help them level up. And so the college was, incredibly fortunate to receive a $5.5 million grant from the city to
Wow.
fund their esports facility and arena on campus. We now have the nicest facility on the west coast of Canada. I can say that with confidence. It's an absolutely beautiful space, and we're able to provide that service to students because this isn't just a one-off program from a college. This is a global movement, really, to invest in entertainment arts and to level up and scale up our programming. And so, a lot of work done on our end, of course, to propose the program, to onboard students, to develop curriculum, but couldn't have been done without the greatest support of the city and the OSIF fund from CED.
Yeah, you mentioned your esports arena, and I didn't get to go there myself, but Lotus 8 had the opportunity to go and tour that, and we did end up creating an awesome video showcasing that esports arena. If you guys haven't seen it yet, you definitely got to check it out because it's so incredible. It makes me want to go back to college, honestly. Um,
Absolutely.
Now, Mao, you also you are heavily involved in the education system and promoting mental health within esports. Would you like to share your experience with educating the younger generation about mental health and esports?
Yeah, sure. Just to backtrack to you about like the esports industry as a growing aspect in the world. Like you mentioned, like I worked with my experience, like I from last year to 2025 this year. I work a lot of schools in Manitoba in Canada. So far at the school level, a lot of middle school, to high schools and colleges, even at the middle school level. What I noticed is that a lot of like schools in Manitoba right now are creating these esports programs for the middle schools, which actually now take a higher demand for professionals like us, coaches and management to help these schools facilitate their programs. Right? Is because as Scholastic grows. The demand for coaches and management grows as well. And even like recently, I've seen at the global level, there is a celebrity league that just opened up now, which is bringing a lot of viewership from across the world, is actually led by T-Pain and Clinton Sparks. What I believe that they're doing right now is that they're giving the opportunity to like tier two to tier three players get drafted on these celebrity teams, right? Which is kind of neat. I'm excited to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, so I gotta ask, my background with video games growing up is I was always taught that education and video games, they don't mix. We were told when we were kids, like you're not gonna be able to make a career off of playing video games. Go back to studying, go do your homework. And now it's definitely a much a different world where now we have esports programs in the colleges. So Shadi, can you tell me about, were there any complications with trying to get this esports program set up with Bow Valley College?
I think we have the benefit of being a second adopter, right? We're not the first to do this in the country, in the continent, or mind you, even in the province. And I think that helps to justify it a lot. Is we're seeing how other schools are doing it, and we can, put our own spin and tackle our own niche and whatnot. But I also don't want to make it seem like everybody is fully on board. There still definitely are some hesitations. There are some stragglers to get on the esports movement, right? And so at times it has less to do with maybe you know direct opposition, which is kind of what I was familiar with growing up, was people just being like, absolutely not, this is never going to be a thing, you need to get back to school and focus on
Mhm.
whatever it is that you're doing. Now it's misinformation or misguided kind of context or understanding. It's like people are like, oh yeah, my kid plays video games, and they're like, oh yes, this is great, so you guys just play Super Mario or whatever, right? Like that's what you do, is you're going to learn, you're going to be really good at Super Mario, and that's how you're going to make your full-time career. And that's also not true. And so I'm finding that the challenges or the roadblocks that we run into now is more that there's a continued need for educating people on what it is that we actually do and what it is that the programs are and what kids are doing in my classes. No, they're not coming and learning how to become professional League of Legends players in my classes, right? In fact, quite the opposite. Most of my students, we hardly play video games in my classes. If anything, we're using them mostly for the spectator functions and whatnot, and understanding kind of the broadcast and media components that are associated with esports, right? And we're
Yeah,
treating it really like a business and entertainment product. And I don't think that portion of it is completely understood. So, my personal experience, in the last 3 to 5 years or so with esports has been people are generally appreciative of video gaming as a hobby, as a form of recreation, and are aware of its possibility or existence as a career path. But there's still a lot of work to be done as far as educating people on how that actually turns into a career and what kinds of jobs are actually available and the skills and qualities and attributes that are required. And that's where I think Bow Valley College really fills that spot, is trying to bridge that gap, that educational gap.
Yeah, no, I think that was a really great answer, and it is really neat to see colleges like Bow Valley College taking this initiative and trying to break that stigma and promote an esports program. Like, to
absolutely.
think that, if I had been born just a little bit later, I mean, you can always go back to college at any point, but
Yeah,
I don't have the time right now. But it's just really cool to think that this is going to become a norm. Eventually, more
yeah,
colleges will continue to adapt similar programs and continue to educate people on how they can make a career within esports. And so it's just really neat to see it unfolding and to see the initiative that Bow Valley College has been making. So,
absolutely.
what are some of the challenges that students might face while pursuing a career in esports business?
Some of the challenges that you might experience from the outside, from parents, from administrators, from government, whatever. I think for a lot of kids, there is also, I shouldn't say kids, students, right? Because you're right, a lot of the students that we have in our program aren't actually, just fresh out of high school. I do have a good
Mhm.
number of mature students in my program as well. Some of those students, um, I think, also come in with a different perspective on what their relationship with esports is. And, some of them do come in thinking, oh, I'm going to be a pro gamer. And so this is the class that I have to take in college to do
Mhm.
that. For others, it's, they're really into games, but they don't really know what they want to do with their life. And so there's a lot of learning as far as kind of starting to think about themselves as, contributing members of society in a professional capacity, right? And what they bring to the table as far as being able to support and develop their communities and community initiatives as well. And sometimes I get folks that are really passionate about business and see esports as being this new and exciting thing that they're not, they don't really know much about, but it sounds cool and sounds fun. And so, it's kind of a cop out answer, but my role as an instructor is to educate, right? And
Yep,
so not just the curriculum and the contents and the material, but the context for which students are stepping into when they walk into my classroom, right? So one of the first things I always do, in our introduction to esports course, the first thing we talk about is kind of taking what you know about esports and flipping it on its head, and comparing it to traditional sports and other forms of media, and asking ourselves, what does it really mean for something to be a sport and to be a competition? It's not really until the second or third week of class where we actually start talking about the esports industry. We're mostly just talking about entertainment as a form of business, and as a what's the word I'm looking for? Just, a revenue generator, I suppose. Like, how
Mhm.
do films make money? How do
Yeah,
sports make money? How do all these things, and then how does esports, this other, magical thing on the side, how does that fit into the puzzle and the role of game developers, and how that kind of changes some of the dynamics and whatnot as well. And so I guess the obstacle, I think, is just challenging worldviews and perceptions, right? And especially at the college level, where you're working with, adults who
Mhm.
at minimum have lived 18 years of life, which, albeit sounds like not too many, is still enough to
Yeah,
kind of learn a couple things and habits and patterns that might be difficult to break, or come with some perceptions that take a little bit of unraveling. And so that's kind of the first few weeks of the class, is unraveling some of those misconceptions, and starting to reframe this not just as a fun thing I do in my free time, but as a career venture or an entrepreneurial opportunity.
right on.
Mao, you are a CEO of an esports org, so you know firsthand just how mentally taxing sometimes being involved in the business side of esports can be. So can you tell us a little bit about your experiences and how you have adapted to the challenges that have been presented to you?
Speak about like how I deal with like time management with all my roles and stuff like that. Right. So it's like that. It is very fast paced growing with Lotus 8. There's a lot of challenges that I personally face based on like time management and where I kind of put my energy daily. For example, like what kind of where I kind of sit within Lotus, like I schedule management meetings, and I schedule management meetings. Our performance coaches. I personally even coach mental health and meditation and mindfulness to our competitors and the academy program. And I'm also one of our sales and partnerships lead with Lotus 8. And on top of that, I have a family business that I do sales in for Dunplas, which can be very taxing on your mental health when you have so many different roles and hats that you wear. Um, for example, like what something I would do is that considering I'm juggling so much positions, what I do on a daily basis the night before, I mentally or write down how my day would look like, how many hours I need to put into Lotus, how many hours I need to put in coaching, how many hours I need to put in sales or and management, right? So, and then that helps me not panic. Right, it puts me in more of a better routine, not scrambling to try to keep up with my own work. Like when you schedule yourself daily, it helps lessen out your stress, and help with your mental health without overburdening yourself or burning yourself out. So and another technique that I use, it's very simple. Like obviously I'm a meditation coach, so I practice meditation daily. But combining it with fitness is ideal. Just not improving your mental health, but combining it with fitness, it helps you overall. With your mental health, which actually will help you work better, not work better, but have better work efficiency. And what I do is that I actually play light meditation music in the background to bring calmness into my works and confidence. It helps with my work efficiency by bringing calmness into my work. So
Yeah, so everyone is gonna have, different habits and different ways of trying to promote those healthy habits, working on your time management and your stress levels. So at the end of the day, it really boils down to trial and error and finding what works for you. If something doesn't work, you go back to the drawing board and try again. I know for me, in order for me to keep track of all of my responsibilities, I have to write things down. I have to keep multiple lists of things just to stay on top of things, having a calendar. And it took me a while to develop the habit of actually using that calendar. I know there's a lot of people who we want to be organized and stuff, and we get those planners and then we never end up using them. So you just have to figure out what works for you to help build those healthy habits, have self-awareness, and just make sure you stay on top of yourself. And if you're trying something that's not helping you build those healthy habits, then find something else, test and try different things. That way, you're not overloading yourself, or even when you do, you have the proper stress management skills and proper time management skills in order to adapt. With this in mind, Shadi, would you like to tell me about? I've heard about you mentioning a self determination theory. I would love to hear more about that and how that's implemented into the esports program that Bow Valley College provides.
Yeah, I don't want to take credit for something that isn't my work. And this is something I've learned from some of my peers in the space. James O'Hagan was a big kind of mentor for me in this area. Just as far as understanding esports as a vehicle to kind of self-actualization and inspiring you to become your best version of yourself. Um, that's not just specific to my work at Bow Valley College. I think it's something that kind of speaks to the power that esports has in the classroom, just in general. As I mentioned, when I'm not teaching at the college, I work with K to 12 schools and develop esports programming there, and so that's definitely the context within which this comes from. But fitting this into kind of esports in the classroom itself, I think a lot of people might ask, what is the purpose of an esports education? There are even people in the esports industry that at this time are, uncertain about the benefits that going to college or going to school and studying esports actually has, right? A common argument that's used is people that are working in esports at high levels now don't come from esports educational backgrounds, right? The broadcasters come from broadcast, and partnerships managers come from traditional business and sales. And so,
Yep.
so what does an esports education actually teach you? The way that James had described it to me, and something that I really connected with me, and something that I really fell in love with, is the idea that people have intrinsic motivations, right, for things that they're passionate about, that speak to them, that inspire them. And esports as a vessel for, kind of finding something that you love and are passionate about and are inspired to do and work towards. It's not necessarily that esports needs to be the outcome, but it's the journey to that final destination, right? You love video games, you love the characters, you love the stories and the environments in which you play, and the friendships that you make in your as you play, and that inspires you to discover things that you love. I think, a personal example for me, I was very much that kid that, didn't have a ton of great connections or relationships when I was in, middle school, high school. And I resorted to video games a lot in my free time. And my parents were very concerned about me, and, traditional kind of fears and hesitations about me and where my life was headed. But once I got to university and I found gaming as, a social mechanism where I could meet with other gamers on campus and participate in club events and play on teams with other people. And I developed this huge love for community service and program management and development, right? And that was something that I never really considered myself to be a educator, a coach, a manager, a leader, but I found my love for those things through esports. And now, I'm finally starting to feel at the point where, not to say that I have any intention of doing this, I love my job way too much, but if I was ever to pivot into a different career path or industry, I feel like I could find joy in just management and coaching in other senses, because esports kind of guided me to that path. And so that's kind of, when I think about self-determination and how it relates to esports, is that idea that it's taking something that already inspires and engages students, and gives them an opportunity to discover themselves and their place in the world, through something that they love. And it's the same with books and film. It's not an esports specific thing. It just for me, it happened to be true for me personally and true for many others. And it's something that I try to encourage people to think about an esports education in a looser sense, right? You don't come to school or talk about esports in class because your ultimate goal is necessarily to get hired in esports. Obviously, that is an outcome and certainly a possibility. But even if that isn't where you end up exactly, you're still getting a ton of benefits along the way. Even if it's kids that never thought they were going to pursue a post-secondary education, they started in esports business management and found out, I really love marketing, or I really love HR, or I really love whatever organizational behavior, and then you've identified your path through something that you otherwise might never have considered a post-secondary education. So I think that's always resonated with me in my work, is just being mindful of the fact that a lot of the students in my classes don't know what they want to do, and my job is to help them, not just to learn about the industry, but also to discover themselves and their interests.
I absolutely love that. It makes me reflect
you.
on my journey so far with gaming as well. I mean, of course, gaming for me started off as an escape from reality. For me, I had a pretty rough childhood, and I often resorted to video games to distract me, from my real life. And so I was always very quiet about gaming. So like I didn't have like a lot of gaming friends. It was sort of just a personal hobby for myself. And then as social media started to develop, you start posting like your clips and stuff and your plays from video games onto social media. And that's what got me into content creation. I'm a content creator, and ended up on the Lotus 8 organization. And now I'm a co owner, I'm a podcast director. I've dabbled into casting for competitive tournaments. I've been a competitive player myself, and I'm also a community manager. You kind of learn how to do all sorts of different things within the realm of gaming. And there's so many different paths that you can take with it. You can wear many, many hats if you want to, but you can also focus on one specific path down the road of esports. And so it's really interesting, the opportunities that it brings. It feels like it's almost never ending. And like you said, the marketing goes hand in hand. Like you can use it in real life, not just with video games, and so it's really neat to see how it can be integrated into other programs, other aspects of life.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, I think we're getting ready to wrap up here. Mao, do you have any final words that you would like to leave us with?
As I say, thank you. First off, thank you, Curly, for hosting the podcast, and thank you to our special guest, one of my friends, Shadi, from Bull Valley College, for joining us today.
Shadi,
for
would you
having me.
like to leave us with anything?
Yeah, enroll in esports business management at Bow Valley. I
Absolutely.
mean, I have a really fun time in my classes and getting to talk to students about something I love every day. And for any prospective students or parents watching as well, especially if you have kids at home that are still trying to figure out their way in the world and their sense of direction. All I can say or suggest is, approach their future education with an open mind, right?
Mhm.
The world has changed a lot. It's not a straight line, to you do your undergrad and then you get hired somewhere and then you go and do your master's. Like the world is so different now. People half my age are making more money than I'll ever see in my life through video games, and
Yeah,
that's one outlet. But there's also several others that take a little bit of a way to take a little bit of time to find their way, right? And I think by what's always been true for me and always stuck out to me is if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, right? And
I
I've
Yes.
agree.
found a lot of success. Not just professionally, but personally, by investing myself into something I love, which is esports and providing opportunities for kids that I wish I had when I was their age. So, you know, keep your options open and be open to the possibility of a new world.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Thank you both so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Very insightful thoughts. And it was really nice to get a look into Bow Valley College Esports program, to the nitty gritty details. And we will have a link in the description below that goes directly to the esports program for Bow Valley College. So if you would like to check out enrollment and check out upcoming events, do click on that link and check it out. Get enrolled. And also, if you haven't seen that esports arena video, definitely check it out because it's so incredible. I can't even put into words how huge and amazing the esports arena is at Bow Valley College. Definitely check it out. We will also have Lotus 8's socials in the description below as well, so you guys can check us out on other platforms. But be sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for future episodes and other content from Lotus 8. We will catch you guys next time.